Queensland on the brink.
A large outbreak, which I think we're on the verge of. I hope it doesn't become any larger, but I suspect it will.
A mystery positive in Cairns among 17 new cases, 9 of them children.
If you're a grandparent and you haven't been vaccinated, please don't go anywhere near your grandkids.
The New South Wales outbreak too showing no signs of slowing. 199 new local cases, up to 129 infectious in the community.
We don't know yet, and I have to be honest about this, whether we're through the worst of it or not.
As far as vaccine motivators go, the current outbreaks are pretty big ones.
The most important incentive for people to get a vaccine is that it can save their lives, the lives of their loved ones and those of their fellow Australians.
But if that's not enough, how about some sweet dollary-doos or albo-redoos? $300 worth to be precise.
We need to use everything at our disposal to encourage those vaccination rates to rise.
Labor pushing the government to bring in cash incentives for anyone fully vaccinated by December 1.
As well as, of course, being good for health, this is aimed at stimulating the economy. You have $300 cash payments to Australians, they'll spend it.
But fair to say the government isn't dollary digging the idea.
What we're seeing is another typical Labor Party cash splash of some $6 billion without the evidence to back up that it's necessary or that it would work.
This is a serious public health crisis. It's not a game show. So if they do have hesitancy about vaccines, I'm not going to pay them off.
The PM adamant Australia doesn't need to resort to some of the sweeteners used to drive up vaccination rates overseas.
The Leader of the Opposition's proposal is a vote of no confidence and an insult to Australians, ill-informed, ill-disciplined, suggesting they won't get vaccinated unless you dole out the cash. That is an insult, Mr Speaker. This is a bad idea.
Well, the man with the proposal, Anthony Albanese, joins us now. Anthony, why do we need to pay people when the recent figures put vaccine hesitancy at just 11%, I think it was?
Well, we're still last in the developed world for the rollout of the vaccine. We're struggling to get into the top 80 of countries, and we need to get those vaccination rates up. As well, of course, this quarter's likely to be negative. Businesses and workers are really struggling. So providing this reward, this $300 payment, would help to support jobs and economic activity when it's really needed in the lead up to Christmas.
We know incentives have been used overseas during the pandemic, but is there any actual evidence that they work?
Well, they've been used overseas. They've also been used right here, Carrie, by a bloke called Scott Morrison, was the Minister for Social Security, who introduced no jab, no pay for childcare payments, for family tax benefits. And when he did it, he said it was about increasing child immunisation rates. Where's the negative here? Giving $300 to every Australian who is vaccinated will boost economic activity at a time when it is really needed.
Well, the negative seems to be, if you believe a suite of experts actually now, that it might have a detrimental effect on vaccine take-up. So Peter Collignon has tweeted that this was a bad idea. He made that point earlier today. There's that journal of the American Medical Association, which the Prime Minister referred to today in Parliament, that said that offering these incentives actually has a perverse consequence. And just recently, just now, Tom Van Leyer from the University of Sydney, who's a behavioural expert, made this point. The basic idea is if you start paying people to get vaccinated, it actually sends a signal that there must be a reason they're paying and that this is somehow risky behaviour and they might want to back out of that completely.
See if you can find an economist who says that. Basic economics, and I studied it for 4 years, speaks about signals sending behaviour changes. And that's why the Prime Minister introduced no jobs, no pay, no jab, no pay.
But Anthony, isn't no jab, no pay different? Isn't that withholding payment if you don't get a jab versus offering people money to go get a jab?
It's exactly the same. It's an economic change in terms of people's income, depending upon whether the immunisation has taken place or not. What we need to do is to have discussions in every bowling club, in every community about people getting vaccinated. And the idea that you would somehow not have an incentive, if people are saying, oh, I got my $300, when have you got yours? Have you been vaccinated yet? Promoting that discussion in communities will drive change.
Okay,
we need to do everything at our disposal.
Let me quote from the Journal of the American Medical Association. Financial incentives are likely to discourage vaccination, particularly among those most concerned about adverse effects. Instead, contingent non-financial incentives are the desired approach. It may well be the conversations in the bowling clubs around the country will be quite different from the ones that you imagine.
I don't think that's right at all, and that's why the US administration of Joe Biden is going down this track, why various European governments have gone down this track, while there are a range of studies out there showing that economic incentives do provide that support for take-up.
Which experts did you consult in forming this policy? Were there any specific ones that said this has worked and that this will work in Australia?
Yes, someone like, well, I've just told you the countries that are rolling it out. We consult with a range of people, Waleed, and we always consult about our policies. We've put this forward in a constructive way. Every time an idea gets put forward that's not the Prime Minister's, he rejects it out of hand, like he did wage subsidies, like he did the idea that you have 5 or 6 vaccines, which we were saying last year, like he has national quarantine facilities. This is a Prime Minister who only ever supports his own ideas, even though this one is perfectly consistent with the idea that he himself implemented when he was Social Security Minister.
All right, Anthony, we appreciate your time tonight.
Thanks very much.
From expert opinions to in-depth analysis and reporting, the Project YouTube brings you the biggest stories from Australia and around the globe. Hit the subscribe button now for news delivered straight to your feed.